Hello everyone. I am Sane. Welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to build this password generator with React.js. We can choose if we want to include uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. We can also choose how many characters our password should have, and we can copy that password to the clipboard. So let's not waste any time and write some code. I have opened my command prompt and navigated to the desktop folder. Then, I type npx create react app password generator into the command line and hit enter. This will create a React project for us. The installation will take some time, so I will see you when it's done. Now our project has been created. I will navigate into my project folder, then open it in the code editor. This is the default React project, so there are some files that we are not going to use. Therefore, we have to do some cleanup work and delete some files. And we also remove the imports of the files which we deleted. And we clean up all the style files so we can write our own styles. And delete all the JSX code as well. Don't forget to remove logo SVG import. And the app's CSS file should be clean too. Now we can write our own code. For this, I will navigate to the app.js file. Change the language mode to JavaScript React for the sake of auto-completion. Then I will create a div element with the class of generator. And inside this div, there will be an h2 tag with the class of generator __ title. The content of this element will be a password generator. Then next to that h2 tag, I will create a h4 tag with the class name of password. This is where our generated password will be displayed. Then next to that generator div, I will create a form with the class name of generator __ form. We don't need action here. Inside this form element, I will create a generator __ form -controls div element. This will hold all individual form control elements. Now I am creating a div element with the same class name, but this time it is going to be control, not controls. There will be a label element in this control div. And the content of this label element will be uppercase. Then next to that label, I will add an input element. The type of this input element will be checkbox. And then, I add an ID attribute with the value of uppercase, and a name attribute with the same value. The HTML4 attribute of the label is going to have the same value as well. After creating that form control div, I will copy and paste it 4 times to create other control elements. The second control element is going to be for lowercase letters. I am selecting multiple lines with holding Ctrl and D. The third one is going to be for numbers. And the last one will be for symbols. After that last control div, I will create another div with the class name of generator __ length. In this div, I will add an h4 tag with the class name of generator __ length -title. And the content of this h4 element will be password length. Next to that h4 element, I will add another div element with the class name of password __ length -counter. This div element will hold 3 elements. The first one is going to be the minus button. We will use this button to decrease the counter. The second one is going to be a span element with a value of 6. The value is 6 because I want to create a password generator that generates at least 6-character long passwords, and then a plus button. After that generator length div, I will create another div element with the class name of generator__form-actions. In this div, there will be a button, and this button will have two class names. The first one is going to be btn, and the second one is going to be generate-btn. And the value of this button is going to be generatePassword. Then I will copy and paste that button to create our second button. The second class name of this button is going to be copy-btn. And the value is copyPassword. And now let's start our development server to see what we have created so far. For this, I will go to the npm scripts. If you don't see this in your code editor, you can open it by clicking these three dots. I will click this play button next to the start. And this will start my development server by writing npm run start on the terminal. Right now it looks pretty ugly. Let's write some CSS code and add some styles to our project. Now let's add the functionality of our project. I will use the useState hook for creating some variables. Therefore, I will import the useState hook from React. I'll create a variable for my password, and use array destructuring to retrieve the values provided by the useState hook. These are going to be the password state, and the setPassword function to update that state. And the default value of this state is going to be an empty string. Then I will use useState hook to create my counter state, and the default value of this state is going to be 6. Because I want that generated password to be at least 6 characters long. After that, I will create 4 pieces of state to store the values of the inputs I have. And all of these state values are going to be false by default. Then, I will add the checked attributes to my input elements, and the values of these attributes will be their respective state values. An add-on change event to manipulate that state value. When this input element value changes by a user from checked to unchecked or backwards, this inline arrow function will be executed. If this input is checked, the state value is going to be true. If it is not, then it is going to be false. Then I will repeat this functionality for other inputs as well. Then I will create a new file called data.jsx in the source folder. You can get these variables from the GitHub repository of this project. Then I will import those variables from data.jsx file. After importing those variables, I will create an arrow function called getRandom. Then I will create a chars variable, and the value of this variable is going to be an empty array. Now I will check if the state value that we connected to the uppercase input is true. If it is true, I will push a random letter from the uppercase letters which we imported from data.jsx. This will give us a random uppercase letter. Then I am going to copy that conditional statement and paste it 3 more times to check other state values. If his lowercase is true, I will push a random lowercase letter to the chars array. And I am going to do the same thing for numbers and special characters. If the chars array doesn't have any value pushed in it, then I will return an empty string. This getRandom function will return a random value from that chars array. Now I will create my generatePassword function. This function will receive the event parameter by default. I am writing e.preventDefault because I want to execute this function whenever my form gets submitted, and I have to prevent default behavior of the form submission event. I will create my _password variable, and the value of this variable is going to be an empty string. Then, I am creating a loop, and the code of this loop will be executed as long as the I is smaller than the counter. For each execution of this code block, I will add a random character to the _password variable by calling getRandom function. Then I will set my password state to the value of that _password variable by calling setPassword function. And the content of this h4 element will be password state value. Then, I will add an onClick event to the generatePassword button. And whenever this button is clicked, my generatePassword function will be executed. Let's check if that works. Now I will add my increaseCounter function to manipulate the state value of the counter. I'm writing u.prevent default, because this button is inside the form, and whenever a button is clicked inside a form, that form is going to be submitted. Then I check if the value of the counter state is less than 20, because I want my password generator to generate passwords with a maximum length of 20 characters. Then I will set the value of my counter state to counter +1 by calling the setCounter function. I am going to copy this function to create a decreaseCounter button. In here I will check if the counter is more than 6. And set my state to counter -1. Now I can attach these functions to the buttons that I want to control the counter with. And I am going to do this with onClick event. And the content of this span element is going to be the value of the counter state. Let's check if that works. Great. Our password generator works just fine. Let's check it with some more combinations. Now let's write the functionality that copies our password to the clipboard. For this, I will create a createCopy function. Then I will create a text area element, and store that element in a new variable. After that, I will set the inner text of my newly created text area element to the value of my password state. And append that element to the body. Then I will call the select method on my text area element. After that, I will call another method called execCommand and pass the copy string as an argument to that method. In the end, I will remove the text area element from the DOM. I will create another function called copyPasswordHandler. And call the createCopy function inside this function. After that, I will attach my copyPasswordHandler function to the copyPassword button with the onClick event. Let's check if that works. Great, now I will create a Modal JSX file in the source folder, as well as a Modal CSS file for styling that modal. This Modal component will be a functional component. Instead of importing React, I will import the Modal CSS file. And I will return a fragment in this component. Inside this fragment, I will add a div element with the class name of backdrop. And next to that div, I will add another div with the class name of modal. And inside this modal div, there will be an h2 element, followed by a paragraph element. In the end, there will be a button with the content of OK. This modal component will take some props. The content of the h2 element will be props.title. And the content of the paragraph is going to be props.message. Now we can add some styles to the modal.css file. Now I will go to the app.js file and import that modal component. I will create another state for this modal component. The value of this modal state is going to be an object. This object will have a title property, and it's going to be an empty string. And the show property with the value of false. And finally a message property with the empty string again. Then I will go to the copyPasswordHandler function and check if the password is an empty string or not. If it is, then I will set the value of modal state to a new object. The title property of this object will be error. The message property will be there is nothing to copy. And the show property will be true. Else, I will set the value of the modal state to an object with the title property of success. And the value of the message property will be the password successfully copied to the clipboard. And the show property will be true once again. Now we are going to render our modal component conditionally. I am passing a title prop to the modal component, and the value of this prop will be modal.title. And message prop. The value of this prop will be modal.message. Let's check if that works. Now let's create a function to close that modal. And this will be an arrow function called closeModalHandler. I will set a new value to the modal state. I will take all the properties with the spread operator, and overwrite the value of the show property with the false value. Now I will pass on close prop to the modal component, and pass a closeModalHandler with that prop to the modal component. In the modal JSX file, I will add an onClick event to the button and execute the props on close for every click event on this button. I am adding the same onClick event to the backdrop because I want to close the modal when I click the backdrop as well. With all that done, now we can check if our project works or not. As you can see, it works perfectly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel.